What's going on, everybody? It's Julia. Friends call me J-Rock. Thank you for stopping by the Tumbleweed Logic channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a regular, appreciate you coming back. Today, we're just gonna have a serious conversation. In 2005, when I was in college, I was raped. I was raped by a guy that I had been getting to know. I had invited him over to my apartment, and he wanted to have sex with me, and I told him I didn't want to, and he still had sex with me anyway. I didn't report it. I didn't tell the authorities. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't really tell that many people, to be honest, because I was ashamed, afraid, for all these different reasons. Part of my shame came from the fact that I didn't fight the guy off. And the reason why I didn't fight the guy off was because I was alone in my apartment, and I didn't know that many people in the city to begin with. Nobody that would be coming and looking for me. And my parents, they lived some hours away, and, I was in college. So if they didn't hear from me for a day or two, they wouldn't think anything of it. They just think that I'm busy, because I worked and went to class when I was in college. So I was very busy all the time. And so I made the decision at the time that, I'm going to just try to get through this so that I can live to fight another day. And I thought it was important to come and talk to you guys kind of straight up with the METOO campaign going on online that has earlier this week and last week, where people were talking about the experiences they had, kind of stemming out of the Harvey Weinstein scandal and the sexual harassment allegations and the sexual assault allegations against him. And not just him. I mean, there's Bill O'Reilly, there's Donald Trump, who somehow made it to the presidency. Conversation for a different day. There are these accusations against all these different high-powered men. You can just see streams and threads of women who have experienced something similar. The disturbing part for me is that I've watched some of the videos that have been on YouTube, and I've read the comments, and I've read some of these threads online, and everyone's dissecting the woman's behavior. Did she fight him off? Did she say no? Are you being too sensitive? Folks who are trying to dissect whether or not these women were raped. Should they have been upset about something? Should they have even gotten upset about what happened to them? I've had someone dissect what happened to me a couple of years after I had been raped. I talked to an ex-boyfriend of mine about the situation, and he told me, he's like, well, were you really raped though? Were you really raped? I mean, because you didn't fight him off, and I thought the fight back portion is really what makes it rape. So if you didn't fight him off, then you weren't really raped then, right? And you feel even worse, because you feel bad enough as it is, and then people don't believe you, or they think that you're sensationalizing something, or that you're trying to garner sympathy. And it's crazy, because it's like, man, I mean, I've already been through this, and now you're telling me that what I'm saying is not legitimate. And so I was like, nah, I gotta get behind the camera today. The truth of the matter is, if someone wants to have sex with you, and you tell them that you don't want to have sex with them, and they still proceed to have sex with you against your will, it's rape. Whether or not you're able to fight the person off, because that's like saying somebody who's drunk or something else, that's basically saying that those people weren't raped because technically they didn't fight the person off. And so I'm not going to make this a long video, but I wanted to just say a couple things real quick. First things first, if you have never been in a position to be sexually assaulted, physically assaulted, sexually harassed, you have no context. You have nothing to draw on. You don't know what you would do. You have no idea what you would do. Second thing I wanted to say is that I've heard a lot of commentary about, well, it's subjective, and there are women who are making false statements and falsely accusing people and ruining lives. That happens. I am not saying that doesn't happen, but just because what some women say is untrue doesn't mean that what everyone else says isn't true. We can't paint the broad brush that if this woman falsely accuses someone, that everyone else who's reporting a rape or an assault or harassment is not telling the truth. We can't do that, because that's how you allow predators in the society to continue doing it, because we don't believe the victims. And I made a video on Instagram about this, is that no matter what happens when it comes to assault or sexual assault, they always are picking apart, what did the women do? where was she? Why did she make this decision? How did she get to that location? For Harvey Weinstein, I've seen so many questions about, well, how did the women get to the hotel rooms they were in with him? Why didn't they tell somebody, whatever. And it's like, but Harvey Weinstein is the one committing the crimes. He's the one doing it. Why isn't it just that he's a terrible human being who's taking advantage and hurting women? Why is it that we have to put the woman on trial first before the man ever gets on trial? There's a lot of talk about, sometimes women can take things the wrong way. Sometimes, somebody didn't mean something. But the fact is, if someone makes you feel uncomfortable, then you're uncomfortable. I don't have to feel comfortable because someone else thinks I should. If someone says or does something to me that makes me feel uncomfortable, then I'm uncomfortable. That's it, and that's all. And it's our duty as human beings not to get on the person who is uncomfortable. Is to figure out, okay, well, if there's something that's happening, if there's behavior that's happening that's making someone uncomfortable, maybe there's something else that should be done. People are saying, well, catcalling in the street and saying things, is that sexual harassment? Some of the stuff that I have heard men say to me specifically is not just, hey, ma'am, you look nice. That's not what guys are saying. I mean, I've had the expletives. I've had the what they would do to me if they got me alone. I've had those, and people just saying it broad out in the open. You may not think that's inappropriate, but someone else thinks that that's inappropriate. And so you don't have the right to tell somebody what they can or cannot be offended by or made uncomfortable by. Remember, no one has to be comfortable in a situation because you think you would be. People are different. People's experiences are different. You don't get to say, well, you shouldn't be upset by that. And so I say all that to say, just to wrap it up, if you're not a victim, if you've never been a victim, if you've never been in that type of situation, listen first. Before you pass judgment, take a second to listen. Don't get into why she didn't report or why she didn't do this or why she didn't do that. Take a second to listen and understand the situation and do your best to sympathize or empathize, because you don't know what it's like to be there until you've been there. Secondly, don't delegitimize what somebody has experienced because you think you would be comfortable. Just because you may be cool with someone walking past you and saying something or smacking you on the ass, just because you would be comfortable with that doesn't mean that someone else has to be. Finally, for the victims, sexual assault is never your fault. Sexual harassment is never your fault. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you. If you make it known that something is unwanted and someone still chooses to go against your wishes to do what they feel like doing, you're not at fault. You're not at fault. It doesn't matter how you got there. It doesn't matter what you were wearing. It doesn't matter. None of that matters, and don't let anyone tell you any different. But it is important that we, just for us to keep our wits about us and be mindful of our environments. But until next time, guys, I don't really got nothing else. But if you want to let me know your thoughts, please put some comments below. And I'll catch you guys later.